Okay, so in this video, I'm going to talk about how to create a good Twitter bio. So your bio is the first impression on the internet. In Twitter, right? So when somebody is, stumbling upon your profile, your Twitter bio is the first impression that you're giving people. They might be coming to your profile, maybe just for like 30 seconds or like 1 minute or 2 minutes, and most people are browsing Twitter using their mobile phone. So they don't actually spend too much time on a profile once they land on it. They just do like a quick browsing and just make a quick evaluation as to who you are. And, they might be coming to your profile after seeing one of the comments you made on someone else's profile. Maybe after one of your tweets was retweeted by a bigger account, and then they saw your tweet and they just came to your profile to see who you are, right? So this is an opportunity for you to make a first impression on Twitter. And this is a good tweet by Matthew Kobach, and he explains how he uses his Twitter bio. So he says, I use my Twitter bio to explain what someone can expect to see if they follow me. I use my pinned tweet as an extension of my bio. This is the most valuable real estate on your Twitter profile. Use it accordingly. So this is so true. This is actually the most important real estate that you have in this tiny world of Twitter. So you have to be smart about it and how you present yourself. Now you might say that, okay, but I am a lot more than 160 characters. How can I fit my whole personality into this tiny space, right? So here someone is asking, why not? I love so many things, and character limits is actually a big constraint for me to put all those interests into my bio. And he replies, because we are too diverse to share all of who we are in a Twitter bio. That's absolutely true. We might have so many interests as a human being, but in terms of Twitter, when someone is following you, they really want to know what they can expect from you. What are the kind of tweets that they can expect from you? And I always say that Twitter is a peer-to-peer university. Like, people are here on Twitter to learn more about ideas. They don't want to see what you ate for lunch or what you had for dinner. They want to learn about new ideas, and they want to know how your ideas are unique and what gives you the credibility to talk about those ideas. So that's what you should be focusing on when you craft your Twitter bio. Okay, another idea is that, or another rule I have is, don't be abstract in the bio. And as I mentioned, this is a very valuable real estate. So you don't want to waste that space talking about random interests that you have, or putting up some random quote that you like in the Twitter bio. You should be sort of maximizing the availability and the utility of that space. Okay. Aish is a very good profile to follow on Twitter. And okay. And the whole idea is that people might feel that, I don't want to brag about what I do. Maybe I went to an Ivy League school, or maybe I worked in a very famous company or something like that. But the reality is that people want to know who you are. Credibility is a big aspect of Twitter. So it's actually okay to brag a little on the bio, and people actually don't mind. So here he says he worked at Yelp and he went to MIT. So it actually gives him that it's actually a form of social proof, right? It actually offers some credibility as to who he is, and it's actually a kind of a filter for people to make a choice on whether they need to follow you or not. So if you have been part of a company that is well known in the people know that company, or if you have gone to an Ivy League school, that is a very good piece of credibility. Or if you have built some product, or if you have been part of a startup, brag about it, write about it, and make sure that you include that information on your bio, which is again like the most important real estate. It's like a billboard, right? You are driving on the highway and you see this billboard, and you're just looking at it in like 2 minutes, and that person, that's the first impression that he's going to get about you. So make sure you include all the good details about who you are, any very good credentials that you can include in the bio. is always helpful. Okay, and these are some good examples of Twitter bios, and I'll explain why I like these. So the first is Siddharth. He is a recent graduate from Northwestern University, and let's look at what he writes in his bio. So here is a clear statement from Siddharth, right? He says, writing about the best books, academic papers, and news at getsnapshots.com every week. So I think getsnapshots.com is his weekly newsletter where he writes about the latest books and academic papers and news in like tech and stuff. So most of his tweets, you can expect that, it's going to be surrounding, tech, Twitter, technology, venture capital, investing, all that kind of stuff, right? Because he's talking about books and news and Get Snapshots. So you get the idea about what you can expect from his profile. If you look at Brandon Zhang's profile, he talks about how he's a student at Columbia. He's associated with the Visualize Value brand. He's doing an apprenticeship with Jack Butcher at the moment. And then he says he's a podcast host at brandonchang.com/podcast. And then he says mental models, mental wealth. So just by looking at his profile, I understand that, okay, he's going to be talking about mental models, new ideas. He has a podcast, so he must be bringing on some good guests on those podcasts. And also it is good to include some other handles, like here Brandon is including the handle of Visualize Value. So if someone has never heard about Visualize Value, but you are working along with that brand, it's actually good to include that brand's name there, because again, it offers social proof and adds credibility to you as a person, because once again, like I said, this person is going to make an impression in less than 1 or 2 minutes. So it's good if you have some reputation or credibility in that space, and any links or any handles that you can use to boost that credibility is really good for your Twitter bio. And lastly, this person needs no mention. I think if you are on Twitter, you must have come across David Perel. So he's sort of the original Twitter guy. And if you look at his profile, he says in three words, he just explains the whole thing, right? He's the writing guy. So you can expect tweets on writing, why you need to write online and all those kind of stuff. And he makes it very explicit on his bio. So he says, I tweet about business, online learning, and internet writing. So again, I always like profiles where they drill down their core domains into 3 main areas. And 3 is like, I feel like it's some unique number of items which is like really registers in people's minds. I mean, more than 3 and then you're including too much details, and less than 3, it always feels like it's too less. So I call this the content triangle. So if you have 3 vertices of that triangle, if you can fit the top 3 interests or the top 3 domains about which you will be talking and writing about, make sure that it's in the Twitter bio. And it's actually very interesting when I see profiles. These are one of the best profiles that I've seen, and he has drilled down all the topics into these 3 domains. Actually, David Perel talks about many more things, but these are the top 3 things that he talks about. So it makes sense that he mentions that in his bio. And then he has 2 links here, which is very relevant. He has a podcast, which is really good. And he has the link to that podcast, perel.com/podcast. And My Writing School, he has an online course. He has like an online cohort-based writing school. It's called Rite of Passage. So he talks about that. So if you look at these 3 profiles, they're very concise. They have been very mindful about how they need to maximize that Twitter bio real estate. And if you look at the header image, it's like pretty simple. And it's really up to the aesthetics of who you are. In Brandon's case, he has added this 2 words, student mindset, because he talks a lot about being a student and having that student mindset for learning and stuff. Siddharth, I think he has a lot of books and stuff. David Perel, he is a guy who's a lot into aesthetics and stuff. So he has created some a wallpaper of a picture. So be very smart about how you craft your Twitter bio. To recap, it's actually the first impression that you make on Twitter. Make it very concise. Keep it short. Add credibility where it is due. If you have done anything interesting in the past, make sure you include that in the bio, and don't feel shy to brag on your bio, because really it's really that first impression on Twitter.